You're listening to WXOJ-103.3 FM, Valley Free Radio. This is Screaming for Change. It's Monday night. You know what that means. Your work week has maybe started. Someone at work, maybe your boss, maybe a coworker, is getting on your nerves today. Your family giving you a hard time. The anxiety and rage are building up. But then you look at the clock, you realize 10 p.m., Monday night, it's screaming for change time. You need that hardcore fix right now before you're gonna blow. Well, here you go. I'm John, and every week I play you the best hardcore, and this week is no exception. We have a very special episode tonight with a good friend and former bandmate joining me in the studio. Straight out of Westfield, we have Mike Wynn from the band Killer Fiction. We kick things off with The Poison Sickens You off of their demo tape. 20 years after the release of their demo, Killer Fiction returns to Westfield for a show at Hutke's at the Nook, right downtown in Westfield on Franklin Street. Our interview today was planned with Mike Wynn and Chris McKenna, and then it was going to be them and Kevin Gibo, who's filling in on guitar and is the owner at Hutke's, and then it was going to be Wynn, McKenna, and Keikos, and we had a few more last-minute changes, and now it is Wynn and my friend Jeff Gnatek, who is filling in on guitar for that reunion show. I am so happy to sit down with my friends. Mike Wynn also played in bands with me, including Helping Hand and Gift Horse. He also played in Dragnet, Electric Eyes, and did some cool solo stuff as well. Wynn grew up in Westfield, Massachusetts, where he remains one of the most well-liked people in the fourth largest Massachusetts town by area. As I said before, Wynn played guitar in Killer Fiction. The lineup was filled out by Chris McKenna on vocals Aaron Kakos of Last in Line on drums, Mike Stankovich from Striking Distance on guitar, and Mikey Flynn from The Prowl on bass. As I said before, Killer Fiction released a single demo cassette in 2005 on Painkiller Records. It was Painkiller 3.5. It was a yellow cassette with 4 songs and an intro on it, 15 minutes and 7 seconds of music. This band was short-lived, and up until a few weeks ago, barely existed on the internet, aside from a few folks who did the Lord's work of posting it onto YouTube. But now you're able to find it on streaming platforms as well. When they were a band, Killer Fiction played a handful of incredible shows with local acts like Wasteland, Sobriety High, The Poopy Butts, Black Belt Club, Helping Hand, 315, and The Irritators, as well as some bands from Eastern Mass and beyond, the likes of Mental, The Wrong Side, Foxfires, Colin of Arabia, Hot Cross, Panic, Blacklisted, Think I Cared, Guns Up, Iron Age, Modern Life is War, For the Worst, Shipwreck, Righteous Jams, Soul Control, and Kill Your Idols. At the time, I loved these tracks, and I think they've held up. And I'm so happy, 1, that you came to hang out with me today, and 2, that you're playing a reunion show. And those details are as follows. On April 6th at Huetke's at the Nook in Westfield, Mass. Also playing that show is classic Westfield youth crew act Wishful Thinking, Albany's Schenectavoids, Brain Vacuum, and 11-inch Stormtrooper. Tickets are on sale now at huetkes.com. Welcome to Screaming for Change.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. I gotta hear, how's it been going? You guys obviously haven't practiced in a long time. You've been practicing. What's it like getting the band back together?
So we've been practicing. We had 2 practices. And by the way, great intro. That was really well put.
Listen, you deserve it, man.
Now hearing that's crazy. But no, we had 2 practices. One, me, Kev, and Chris, Aaron, and then now we got Gnatek, second practice. Honestly, it sounded great. I was nervous about playing, but it's all muscle memory. It kind of just came back. I think Gnatek's kind of been the secret weapon because it sounded heavy and it sounded good and it sounded full. So I'm so grateful. And the fact that I can play the songs, like, it's awesome.
Yo, I legit heard you didn't miss a step, man. Yeah. When I don't know if it was Gnatek or Jibo that told me that they were like, yeah, I don't know if he's been playing. I don't even know if he has a guitar, but he picked that thing up and he was just wailing on it. Is it true? You just could play him right off the bat?
It did. It came back natural, and you know what? I'm just so grateful because it just felt natural, and just the sound was there, and the fact that we can play the songs and the demos, like 4 songs, whatever, EP, but with the samples and everything, and just the guitars, and I'm just so happy with how it's coming together.
Yo, can McKenna still sing? He's not here to defend himself.
He's been good. I would even have Gnatek pop in, but I think he's doing a great job not blowing his voice, because if you're haven't sang in 15 years and, you know, sometimes it blows your voice. He's been good. He's been controlled. He sounded great, and he's just been with us every beat.
Do you think he's like one of those celebrity chefs and he just screams at his line cooks in the Killer Fiction voice and he's just kept his voice strong this whole time? That was my thought.
That's a great question, because McKenna is an amazing chef, and I always think about what he's doing for work, and I'm like, is he just like screaming at everyone like in that Killer Fiction voice, like? Because that would get people to work, and then, you know, give people complex, you know. There's
no way McKenna's screaming at people at work.
No, he's the sweetest. But, you know, when we asked Chris never sang in a band, and me and Aaron were like, hey, we started that band as like a project, and I think it was Aaron said, hey, let's have McKenna do vocals, and I was just instantly like, yes, let's do it.
Dude, that's crazy that he just jumped into it. Just as somebody who won, when we did our band, both of the bands, you know, I had never really sang in a band before. And then just recently with the new project that I'm doing, it's been weird, you know, singing for the first time in a really long time. So it's awesome that his voice sounds so good. Do you guys, is the set it's the 4 songs in the demo? Are you doing any covers?
So right now we are working on some covers. And again, about Chris, it's great because like he never sang in a band, but he was so natural. And I think because he appreciated the same bands we all did and going to shows over the years, I think he picked it up quick. It was just like, I don't know if it was like instinct or what, but he just did such a good job on the demo. His voice was a little shot halfway through, so like there's certain tracks where you could tell like his voice isn't quite what it is from the beginning, but you could tell he was hanging in there. And yeah, he just did such a great job. I mean, we're proud of him.
I'm going to tell you because we'll pick at McKenna a little bit because he couldn't make it today. So you know how I was originally going to intro it? I had all the lyrics to Famous Last Words typed out, and I was going to read the lyrics
Okay.
to Famous Last Words and ask him to respond. So for listeners who don't know, Dragnet had a song called Famous Last Words that was about McKenna, and it's very scathing, but I feel annoyed that I didn't do it now since he's not here, because I think it would have been even funnier.
I think we should play it because that is a great song. That had the heaviest breakdown. Al came up with that. And again, we were young. You know, we were kind of jabbing at each other. You know, he got a girlfriend, and we were like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And you know, we were hurt by it, but we were like, "Hey, he's doing his thing." But it inspired a great song.
Yeah.
And again, that breakdown, that was
so
all
good.
Al. I got to give it to Al.
Heck yeah, shout out Al. So talking about Westfield, from a lot of the folks who I've had come on the show, and also just from like, at this point, I've lived in Western Mass for almost 25 years, which feels crazy because in my mind, I'm an Eastern Mass kid, but actually I'm like a Western Mass middle-aged man. So Westfield feels like it consistently has gotten a lot of kids into hardcore, starting bands, booking shows, touring. And in my mind, I'm like, is there something about Westfield that just makes people want to scream? What is it about Westfield?
Well, you know, it's awesome question. And to go back way before my time, you think of like Deep Wound, Dinosaur Jr., all those guys, they were like Westfield guys. But then you go flash forward, and for me as a young kid, I was really into, I got a cassette of the Dreadnoks demo that basically evolved into Last in Line. Those guys were it. Last in Line influenced me and Al so much that we just wanted to replicate that. And that was a big influence on Dragnet. You know, I know Killer Fiction was later, but I think those influences are still there. I just remember that was my favorite band, and I just remember going to see those guys, and it was just like beautiful chaos. It was just like seeing these guys, and it was amazing, and we loved it. We didn't quite know what it was, but we were discovering it, and then it influenced us to play what, you know, our sound and made us what we are, you know.
Dude, so Dooley came on. Like, Dooley was my first guest on the show, and he wanted to play some songs from the Last in Line 7-inch. Yeah. And I hadn't, like, you know, I like Last in Line. Not from the other one, from the other one, okay. The Gloom one.
They're both great.
They're so good.
Just, yeah.
I hadn't listened to it in a really long time. It is so fast. Yeah. Like, so much faster than anything that I can even think of now. It was just so impressive.
Yeah, those guys were really good, and they only got better. And that EP, sorry, I said Crosswalk, but you're talking about the later EP. Which is so fast that, like, I don't even know if I could play that. You know what I mean? It's like, and, you know, Deuce and Mikey, like, they were my biggest influences. When Dragnet recorded, I borrowed their gear. They were like, yeah, just if you need it to record, like, they were just like so humble and cool. But they knew, like, we were like super fans. So, and I know that EP you're talking about, and it's crazy, man. It's almost like just how fast it is. It's like, it's insane. And I remember seeing them play the Berwick, playing that album. Yeah. 4-piece, really stripped down, and just playing so fast and so raw. I think Mikey and DJ got into a fight at that show, which is crazy, not to bring it up, but I think they literally, like, DJ, like, grabbed Mikey and, like, punched him, and I was like, all right, this is crazy because it's, like, so hardcore.
And you were, like, little kids watching this.
Little kids, literally, like, 15. I think I just got a picture set from a Close Call show at the Berwick, and it's me in the background, and I'm, like, 15 with acne shorts and, like, a button-up shirt. Yeah. But I'm, like, it's weird. I was so young. I was like, I can't believe I was at that show, but I remember it because Close Call and all those bands were so sick.
And you said the Berwick. I don't know that venue.
So the Berwick was like this sketchy venue, and it was in Boston. What part of Boston?
You ever go there, Natick?
Brockton.
Oh,
so it's Brockton. So it's really like a really kind of heavy
that can be a tough area.
But it was just like they had these shows. They had like this sick warehouse basement, and they would just like book shows. I saw a lot of big bands there. Like I'm thinking like Panic, American Nightmare, like a lot of those shows early on, Close Call, like, and like seeing those bands that early on was like crazy.
That's so sick. Next question. So we have a bunch of songs we're gonna play today that you guys put together as kind of the list of bands that were influencing Killer Fiction. So I guess in the beginning, I'm curious, like, where did this band come from? You know, whose idea was it? What was the original, like, let's make a band like this? You know, like, who came up with it? Like, where did it start?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. So Keikos lived in DC a number of years, and that's where we made a lot of good friends down there. We discovered a lot of great bands down there. Striking Distance for one, that's how we met Mike.
Right.
When he moved to Boston, I helped him move. So Dragnet had a bus, Bessie. I drove it down with my buddy Pat. We helped him move to Boston. He didn't have anywhere to store his drum kit. And I was like, hey, let me hang on to your kit. We could like do a band. And he was like, all right. And again, I remember playing Last in Line, my favorite band.
Did he go
my
to
favorite
college?
buddy.
Did he go to college?
He went down to school down there,
Washington?
Corcoran,
Okay.
which is like an art school, right across from the White House.
Okay.
And it was crazy going down there. We loved it. But that was like the inspiration, and when we started the band, it was like just fun. It was just like a joke. But again, he was like, hey, let's have McKenna sing, and then the songs just came together so naturally that it was like, I don't know if we realized it or not until we released it and started playing, that we were like, this is actually legit. It was just like, for me, it was like, I get to start a band with my favorite person and my favorite drummer of my favorite band. We just, because we have been separated, we just never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
So the fact that we did it is like, hey, I'll hold on to the kit, we'll start a band, we'll have fun, and that actually got me into drums too, which kind of went into like Electric Eyes, side note, you know, with Mikey from the Prowl. It was just crazy time. So it all came together.
So you tricked Aaron into starting a band with you by holding his drums hostage. That's what I'm hearing.
He had nowhere to store it, and the kit is sweet. It's the Yamaha Stage Custom. I don't know if I think he still has it. I hope he does. Yeah, it was perfect.
Gnatek, so Jeff Gnatek's with us. He's going to be playing guitar in the reunion show. Gnatek was trying to take some credit for some of the Killer Fiction sounds, saying that he let you borrow a CD. What was that? What was that,
was
Jeff?
It Failure?
It was.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what you told me.
So Gnatek turned me on to Failure. That was a huge deal because you gave me the album with the frog.
Okay.
That's the first one, Magnified. So he gave me that album, Magnified, and he was like, I think you would really love this. And I listened to it, and I was like, just like instantly just floored. I was like, all right, this is amazing. And it's weird. It is like the chord stuff, just the writing and just the sound, like those guys were sick. And then the other album, Fantastic Planet. And then that album is insane. Like he totally gave me like the rabbit hole, like, all right, check this band out. And then I was like obsessed.
And it was something about how the chords were with that band, because it's not like a hardcore band, right?
Yeah, well that's what Mikey was telling me, that why he played some of those inversions on the Killer Fiction stuff, because of the Failure.
Some of that stuff they do, like it's like it's perfect, and it's like that was new to me, So it's like it was definitely like a different direction, but it all worked out.
That's cool. What about the name? The name I feel like always stood out because it was like it was, I think there were two words that people don't put together particularly. Like it was a Killer Fiction that I read. Like where did this come from?
I know this one. Keikos came up with it, and he got it from a book. Apparently there's a book titled Killer Fiction about serial killers. I didn't know this at the time, but so he came up with it, and it's a great name. It kind of stuck. The logo is awesome. Our buddy Nick did it, but I think that's what it's pretty much based on.
That's awesome.
So, I still don't know the book. I should probably get the book if we play in a band,
Yeah, probably. You should get
he was more, he knew that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to college.
He also dated somebody that worked at Barnes & Noble in Georgetown. I think that might have been part of it.
Okay. All right, it's all coming together. This week on the show, Killer Fiction selected all of the tracks, aside from the opener, which I was a little limited on because I had already played 2 out of the 4 songs, so I really only had 2 choices. So the idea for this week's selections, when I was talking to McKenna about it, was we wanted to just play bands that inspired Killer Fiction's existence, and we thought it would be a fun exercise. You and McKenna worked on that together. How did you guys figure it out, or did you come up with lists separately and then kind of narrow it down, or what was your process?
So, Chris had messaged me about you doing the podcast, and so for me, I kind of got like panic, anxiety, because I go, it's a pretty straightforward question, but it's also like, well, oh my God, like we got to go back and look at what we listened to. So I have all my CDs boxed up, and I went through all of them. There was a lot of influences, like, well, this could be relevant, but I think what it came down to was a lot of the hardcore bands. See, that's the thing. I didn't have a lot of that hardcore stuff, but I think that some of the big bands that really influenced us, I would say, would be Damnation AD, Ringworm, and Integrity. And again, those are the albums I couldn't find. All the Damnation stuff I have, but I've lost the rest over the years. I think that was kind of the inspiration, because like those bands we all aspired to, those bands were heavy. Nobody was really doing bands like that.
For sure.
And we were like, what if we tried it? Why not? Because Dragnet was a different sound, obviously. We were pretty straightforward, but that was huge for us because we were kids, and, it took us to traveling and meeting all these amazing people and amazing shows, but I think those bands is what really, really inspired us. And then, obviously there's more, but, just give you a few.
Heck yeah. And on that note, we're going to jump right into it. Wynn already introed as Ringworm, Integrity, Damnation AD being 3 of the biggest influences, and we are going to start with Ringworm with the song Numb, Blind to Faith.
There is no God.
You just heard Turn Into Ghosts from Damnation AD. Before that, you heard the track Psychological Warfare from the band Integrity. And we started off that 3-song block with Ringworm's Numb, Blind to Faith. So again, these are tracks that were from bands that inspired Killer Fiction. Wynn and Gnatek, what do you guys got on this? Anything to say?
I love all those tracks. I remember first hearing Killer Fiction at one of their first shows, and I instantly loved them, probably because I, grew up loving all these bands. I think all 3 of them actually got cut off my list for our episode just due to time, so happy to hear them today.
That was the least number of songs I've played on any episode, the episode we did. Also, at that Killer Fiction show, was that the show that you moshed and scared all of our friends?
That was probably the last time I moshed, yeah.
Okay, what show was that? Now you got me one.
Flywheel, I think.
Come on. The old Flywheel.
Old Flywheel. Yeah, Killer Fiction and the old Flywheel.
Was that maybe Kill Your Idols 315, maybe?
I don't remember at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have the order of the shows.
I just remember the flyer. It was like Cinco de Mayo.
Yep.
It was like
it was
a skull
with
Joe, sombrero.
Did Joe screen print that?
I think Joe.
Yeah.
I think Joe, he was obviously a good friend of ours, and I think he did screen that.
Shout out to 315.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those guys.
I texted Brendan on 316, and I was like, I can't believe I forgot to text you on 315. He forgave me, though, so that's good.
I made the joke at work the other day. I realized it was 315, and I looked at my coworker, Nick, and I go, hey, 315, the band. And I started listing everyone in the band like he knew. I was like, Joe... and then Murph, I was like, Mike. I was like, I love those guys. They were awesome. Derek. I love those guys. They were good friends.
Only Jibo would have known what you were talking about. So, again, starting with the 3 bands that were the biggest influences, Ringworm, Integrity, Damnation, awesome bands. We're going to keep rolling so we can play some more music. The next one is going to be from a band called Blacklisted. The track is Long Way Home.
Our youth is wasted. Take 1. My ego and the rules haven't you heard the news? You fly like the skin. Now I'm falling. Just take into my eyes. See the ghost beyond my eyes. Severed all my ties. Set my goodbye. Last facing army of myself. When I fail. My good intentions. One last thing falling through the cracks. You're pointing out. Everything that I lack. All my misfortunes. One last thing leaving your lips. Silence is gold.
Danzig with Godless, and before that Blacklisted with Long Way Home. Wynn was just saying you guys played a show with Blacklisted. I'm assuming you did not play a show with Danzig.
We would have liked to, but Danzig was definitely a big influence. But no, we did play with Blacklisted. Played in, I think it was Brockton at the Tigers Den, and I didn't really know them, but I remember seeing them and just being like kind of in the back. Okay, I just remember being blown away. These guys were like the real deal. They were just so hard. Their presence, their sound, and just people were going off. And I was kind of like, all right, if you want to do this, we kind of got to be like this sound, you know? So it was very influential. And I kind of got into them a little after, you know, listening to the albums and, you know, great lyrics and again, just a great sound. Danzig, definitely a big influence. Obviously, we love the Misfits. Danzig was a little later and a little darker, especially that album. 4 was a good album too. 2 is the only one I never really quite got, but the first Danzig, I mean, you know, Twisted Cane, just like, you know, it was just Danzig's the man.
We're going to keep it rolling. This is Just One Fix from Ministry. Screaming for Change, Valley Free Radio. You just heard Just One Fix from Ministry and the song Unsung from Helmet. Once again, we have Killer Fiction playing some of their tracks that inspired them. I don't have anything on these two, so what do you guys got? Helmet and Ministry.
I'll do Helmet quick. So Helmet, that song we actually covered. I remember it was kind of tricky for me because Mike was trying to teach it to me, and there's like, the rhythm is really weird because there's like an added note in there, and like, I remember just playing it, and I was like, I wasn't playing it right, and Mike was like, you're not playing it right, and I was like, I just don't get it. I eventually, we figured it out. But that's a great album too because Paige Hamilton was so good because he was amazing guitarist. Just the way he sang over it so melodically was so cool because it was like playing these like really heavy riffs, and I just always loved that.
I always loved Helmet. They were a big influence on my guitar playing. I loved all their off-time stuff, and Ministry is just killer. I actually was just listening to this record like a couple weeks ago. Just a really, really wild story about how it was made. You should Google it.
No, absolutely. And that was an album that Mike also introduced me to. Again, Ministry, I didn't quite know. You just listen to that song, and it's heavy.
So I'm completely unfamiliar with Ministry. Is this a good record as like the primer of like, this is what this band sounds like?
I think that's probably their biggest record, right?
It was later, right? It was like later for them. Because I remember, what was the one, like Honey, something Honey, like Milk and Honey.
Land of Milk and Honey?
Land of Milk and Honey. I always thought that was a crazy title, but I love that. Yeah, I think this was later. Obviously, it's more developed, almost industrial. Like, I know you said Rob Zombie, like, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. Kind of in that vein, almost. Like, I know he's probably a big influence on him. I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, I'm sure Rob heard this Ministry record, and that must have influenced that stuff. Yeah, those early Rob Zombie records are actually really good. And,
awesome.
And I just happened to listen to them after Ministry. I was like, man, maybe I like Rob Zombie.
We actually should have did White Zombie, because I remember I was exposed to those albums really young. Before Astro Creep, the one before
Lost
that.
Exorcisto?
Yes. I remember that like as a kid and just like album cover, like just tripping out and being like, I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to know what it was.
My only connection to that stuff is my friend had a PlayStation 1 and we were playing like Gran Turismo or some racing game, and you could take the CD out and put a music CD in play it while you were playing the game, and we would always listen to that while we were playing.
It's good driving music.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's all I think about when I think about that.
Back into my Dracula. I had to, sorry. You said sorry. I had to.
It's okay.
You can cut that out.
It is. No, we're keeping it. So it's the end of the night for us. Mike and Jeff, thank you so much for hanging out with me and for answering questions and for picking cool songs to play.
Thank you so much. And Jeff, thank you. And guys, I appreciate you so much, and it was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
For everybody else out there, make sure that you get your tickets for April 6th to see Killer Fiction in Westfield. This has been Screaming for Change on Valley Free Radio. We are going to close with the track Dispossessed by the band Iron Age. I hope everybody has a great week.
The This